Labour have ruled out introducing free school meals for all children if it wins the general election. They said there is no commitment to the policy and it will not feature in the manifesto. Thoughts, Tom?
Oh, man. It's just so depressing. This country is just fucking relentless, man. It is just fucking relentless. Like, nothing is allowed to be good. And that's what I was saying earlier about how, like, anything even slightly progressive, even something where, like, Marcus Rashford got made into, like, a national hero for doing this policy. Labour are so scared of losing that older vote or losing that kind of
mental vote,
insane vote, of people that are basically been made insane by like slow dripping like poison from like the media over like 40 years, that like they now aren't even doing progressive policies that people actually agree with. And like, I don't know, there's obviously, I follow a lot of I follow a lot of left-wing people on Twitter, and they post a lot of stuff about how people actually support like nationalisation of various things, and I'm not actually sure where they're getting their stats from. Whatever, it always seems to be like from opinion polls, just as like reliable as any other government opinion poll. But I trust them more because they're left wing and I'm left wing. So, but yeah,
no criticism of that.
But it does seem to be like a general consensus that like the progressive policies are actually getting more and more supported. You know, stuff like nationalisation of the rail, nationalisation of energy companies. I mean, I'm sure that is definitely supported by the mass.
Water is the big one.
Yeah, because the sewage, and it's like people, but then Labour are like, oh yeah, we can't do that, because they're literally appealing to the tiniest sliver of people who turn out, who are going to basically
Which is
swing.
so mental, because the water argument is so simple. Like, Kent have just had a water ban introduced, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kent, right? You want to win Kent if you're Labour.
Yeah.
And so you basically just turn around to Kent and you say, how much does it piss you off that you can't water your garden? Well, do you know why that
It's
is?
so simple,
Because
though.
these, I was going to say something else. These Ed Campbells are like not aren't fixing the pipes. They're not plugging the holes, and they are losing millions of litres of water every year. And that in turn means you can't water your garden. It's such an easy vote winner.
But it's just like saying, look, we'll just sort the water out, and you don't even have to say we'll bring it into like nationalisation. Just say we're gonna like, I don't know, I guess they do say like vague things like we're gonna like fix this or fix that. But it's always incredibly vague in like a way that's so non-committal that you know that, I mean, obviously the whole thing about Starmer is that he's like gone back on all his pledges. Every single pledge he's done, he just keeps on like kind of going back on it in like almost like a comical way where he like, it's kind of like, does he even need to go back on this one? It's not even like harming his like chances at all, but he just does it anyway, just like for a laugh kind of thing. But like he really doesn't, it's not like he has a chance to like do these policies, because I still think this country is so fucked in the head that basically like doing any of those policies will essentially be met with some kind of fury and scorn in a way that will actually damage your chances of getting into power. But
and
I
Rishi
think
Sunak knows that. Like, I mean, what he said to him a couple of weeks ago at PMQs was like the best land on him ever, where he was like, oh, this man wants to pay out the unions and this man wants to spend. He's never going to do any of that. But it's just, it lands so well. And everyone's at home going, well, do you know? That's actually quite true.
Yeah.
And the best thing about him, he coined the phrase, Keir Starmer, sticking plaster politics. Like, if you look it up, that's his phrase. He's like owned that.
What does that mean?
Sticking plaster. So it's like very temporary policies that apparently the Tories have done just to kind of like keep things moving. Like,
Almost
putting
kind
a little bandage
of
on.
fix the damage that they've done with their own previous policies.
Yeah.
Yes, but by not committing to any new spending or not committing to any kind of new radical policy, you yourself are the sticking plaster politics.
Do you think Labour continue to do well in the polls despite promising nothing? And that's to do with the Tories are so unpopular at this point.
Yeah.
That's probably why they're so far ahead of the polls. Do you think they're sitting in the Labour Party headquarters going, great, another no free school meals bounce? Do you think they're taking the wrong message from this?
No, I think that it's just reactionary politics at the moment. I think that, like, if you look at the MRP polling, which is like the most accurate form of polling, it does show that Labour is way ahead in this. It stands to get something like 420 seats. Fine. But all of that is in reaction to the Tories just being absolutely abysmal and voters saying that they're not going to turn out, not they're going to turn their vote into a Labour vote, that they're simply not going to vote. Yeah.
Or not going to vote, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm going to vote. I mean, it's like, it's pretty sad though, because it's literally like they've just beaten you down to the point where you just actually feel, you know, hopeless and feel like abject about any kind of form of politics. But I guess in a way, I remember before I don't even want to get into like Corbyn anyway, but before all that basically happened, like politics, even the Miliband thing, it was kind of like there was like a vague attempt at making it popular with young people, but it wasn't really. They had like the Milib fandom or whatever the fuck that horrific stuff was.
No, she used to work here.
Oh, okay. I actually really liked that stuff. But she was cool. I think in the end she actually did end up going into Labour or whatever. So I kind of rated.
And also, do you know she was like 19?
Yeah, so she was well young. So I kind of rated that she had that like.
She might have been
She's younger than
She
me.
was well young.
Was she?
Yeah, when she did that whole
But
thing.
it was actually kind of mad because she captured everyone in a way that like Labour could not.
Yeah.
Like how do you make Ed Miliband like fuckable? She did it.
Attractive or in any way kind of like into a positive meme rather than like a kind of piss take meme. It kind of was
it's like the Sun front page versus
the
Miller fandom.
Yeah,
that's what it was up against.
That's what it was.
The power of 14-year-old schoolgirls.
But basically, since then,
She was that young, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, I was 18.
she was
and I'd be younger than
she was like really young. I think it was like 14 or something insane. But that was before TikTok, so she like made the video and then put it on Twitter or something of like the heart meme emoji or whatever it was. But yeah, basically I think since then there was like a groundswell of young people actually caring, and then obviously I feel like it's like we need to crush young people's hope for us to carry on. I feel like that's the kind of general pervading message I get from politics now, is like crush everyone's hope as much as possible. Like make sure you let everyone know nothing is possible. Everyone is going to have a bad time, whatever we do. Because they're even starting to say like, yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of tough choices. And it's like, you're literally not even giving anything positive as a like a, you know what I mean? It's like things are so shit. All you're basically saying is they're going to carry on being shit, but we're just going to be a different kind of shit.
Have we actually ever experienced an election in our adult life where there hasn't had to be tough choices? Just like, again?
Yeah. It's constant, relentless, tough choices.
Like seriously, since 2008, like our entire conception of like being like teenagers or adults or whatever has just been defined by the Treasury not having any money in it, but specifically not having any money in it to fund any of the things that would be quite nice for us.
Quite nice.
What would make you vote for Labour? Or vote at all, I suppose.
I think it's one of those things where it's quite hard to like see how I could actually really support that party. I mean, both of them really. Obviously, the Tories are kind of like comically evil, but then the Labour are kind of like subliminally evil, where it's like they're like pretending to be nice, but then they're kind of like evil in like a way where it's like we're the good guys, but we're still really evil. And it's like I can't actually like I couldn't compute like actually. There's like some politicians that like obviously like Zara Sultana and stuff like that. She's amazing, and like Nadia Whittome and stuff, and I really support them and they're great.
But they've been like they're being bullied out.
They're being bullied out. That's the whole thing. It's like I love them so much, and it's like I love what they do, and that they are like the kind of last bastion of like hope that I have for politics in any way, shape or form, and then they're just getting absolutely trounced by their own party.
Do you know, I knew that Zara Sultana was going to be bullied out the party the second that we went on a press trip with her to a Gurdwara, and she was so interested in what the people we were going to meet had to say. Like she was genuinely engaging with them, like actually interested in what was going on. And I was like, you are too into
You're
this.
fucked.
Yeah, you are. It's like you're
taking an
too
interest
much.
in people.
Yeah,
That's not what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the job.
Yeah, that's not the job. I actually have no idea what would make me vote for Labour right now. I mean, the only thing I could, if they basically said, look, we will literally make things slightly better. Like that's all they need to do is just say, even just slightly better. But they're not even saying that. They're just saying things are going to stay the same, if not worse. They're literally saying in some, I think it was like Wes Streeting was saying, tough choices are going to have to be made. We don't have the funding. We don't have the money to spend. Like it's not going to be good for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, but he's always desperate to push that line because he's so horny to privatise the NHS. It's unbelievable.
Scary, man.
But it is. Like I'm not even like. I just actually think we need to kind of like shatter this thing where there's like a big cohort of Twitter that will say things like, "Oh, you just don't get it. You're just trying to quash Keir Starmer." It's like, no. How can you actually not see that Wes Streeting is someone who is actually actively out to take apart and dismantle the NHS? It's like not even neoliberal in the way that Tony Blair, like, you know, horned after. This is like mad.
But it's not like neoliberal. Even like the Tony Blair stuff, they were doing it in a way where it's like, we are actually going to spend some money on public services to make them better. Like it's obviously I'm not going to fucking cape for Tony Blair in any way, but at the end of the day.
Only for the Iraq stuff, right?
But I mean, all of that stuff, obviously they were, again, like subliminally evil in a way where they were like, hey, we're doing good stuff, but we're also incredibly evil in a way that's not like as overt as the Tories are, kind of thing.
But it was good that they didn't find weapons of mass destruction in like state schools, otherwise they would have never got the Sure Start program.
But then they did do some stuff where the money did get spent that was like, you know, actually, and then obviously it's mad to see how far even it's gone down from those years, just after like 12 years of the Tories or whatever. So all Labour would need to do is just say, we might take it back to those years in like the 90s where we were like, actually, the country wasn't completely falling apart. Just say we won't make the country fall apart. Like, that's all you need to do.
But the biggest misconception that they have, okay, so like Tony Blair obviously inherited like a completely different economy than like Starmer's going to inherit. And I completely understand that. But when you look at like just look at wage stagnation for the last 20, 25 years, you need to come in and you need to go, right, if you're someone who owns a house, you've got a car, but you found you can't go on holiday anymore, we're going to be the party that makes sure that you've got a bit of disposable income back in your bank account. Like that we're going to spend you out of poverty. That's just a really simple way of saying it.
Everyone would be allowed to go to Glastonbury.
Instead of
and no one would be allowed to complain.
But
and you get your drugs tested.
But is that too much to ask for? Do you know what I mean?
It's really not. Like, one of the guys I followed the other day, I was making a good point where it's like, it's not that insane to be like, I think people deserve to actually be, to afford to live, like literally just afford to live, and also have one weekend of the whole year where they have a nice time for 3 days. Like, I don't think that's that an insane left-wing position to say, I think people should be able to afford food and heating and also have a nice time for one weekend of the whole year.
Yeah, but you would say that because you go to Glastonbury.
You also want a smartphone.
I don't go to Glastonbury. I hate everyone that was at Glastonbury. I hate you.
I think it's just all this stuff, all that kind of chat just reminds me of like poor people shouldn't have plasmas or...
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
phones.
exactly the same as that, but now they're kind of like angling it at in like a middle class way where it's like, no one's allowed to have fun because we're all having a sad time. But it's like, well, when does anyone get to have fun and what fun is allowed? I don't know.